watching the best. Fox 10 News at 4.
And right now at 4, Southwest Gas agreeing to a multi-million-dollar deal to improve pipeline safety following a dangerous explosion 3 years ago.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs honoring our nation's heroes, the local veterans inducted into Arizona's Veteran Hall of Fame.
And Arizona Game and Fish responding to an unusual call to rescue a bear cub. How this little guy got stuck at the top of a utility pole.
But first tonight, presidential candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump hitting the campaign trail hard in the final days before the election.
Yesterday, both candidates were in Arizona speaking to supporters here in the Valley. But comments made by former President Donald Trump at an event in Glendale last night are now under investigation.
Some are unhappy with the comments that he made about former Congressman Republican Liz Cheney. Mark Martinez joins us now to break down the developments. Mark.
That's right, John and Christina. The Arizona Attorney General's office, led by Democratic AG Chris Mays, is now looking into whether former President Donald Trump's comments about former Congresswoman Liz Cheney violate Arizona law. During his event in Glendale Thursday night, former President Trump was asked by former Fox News host Tucker Carlson about his relationship with former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney and his daughter, former Representative Liz Cheney, and her stance on sending troops to fight wars overseas.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
Cheney responded to Trump's comments on X, saying in part, "We cannot entrust our country and our freedom to a petty, vindictive, cruel, unstable man who wants to be a tyrant." Today in Michigan, Trump was asked about his comments.
I think that Liz Cheney is a disaster. All she wants to do is blow people up. She's a war hawk and a dumb one at that. And if you ever put her into the field of battle, she'd be the first one to chicken out. She wouldn't fight. She'd chicken out so fast. And that's all I say. These are the people. They don't mind killing people, but if they had to do it themselves, she wouldn't fight. She's a coward.
Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris called Trump's rhetoric dangerous and violent.
He has increased his violent rhetoric, Donald Trump has, about political opponents, and in great detail, suggested rifles should be trained on former Representative Liz Cheney. This must be disqualifying. Anyone who wants to be president of the United States who uses that kind of violent rhetoric is clearly disqualified and unqualified to be president.
We have posted the entire 90-minute event last night with Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson on our website, by the way, if you'd like to look at that. Again, the Arizona Attorney General's office is looking into whether Donald Trump's comments violated Arizona law. But when asked for an interview, the AG's office said that they had no additional comments to make at this time. Mark Martinez, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Mark. The fight over Battleground Arizona continues this weekend. Both vice presidential candidates will be coming to Arizona tomorrow. Minnesota Governor and Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz, he hosts a rally in Flagstaff tomorrow and then heads to Tucson later in the day. And this will be Walz's 5th trip to Arizona since being named Kamala Harris's running mate.
And Republican Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance will make his 5th stop in Arizona tomorrow since being named Donald Trump's running mate. The Ohio senator is holding a rally at Dillon Precision, a gun parts manufacturer near Greenway Hayden Loop and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale. And a reminder, today is the last day of in-person early voting across Arizona. You'll have until 5 p.m. to cast your ballot at an in-person voting center. Many will remain open tomorrow and on Monday for emergency early voting. And you can check with the county recorder's office for locations and times on that. All the information can also be found on our website, fox10phoenix.com.
Phoenix police released new body cam video from a deadly officer-involved shooting. Officers were responding at the time to a trespassing call about a man armed with a knife at a Dollar Tree store near 35th Avenue in Glendale. But a warning up front, some of the video here is disturbing. The body cam video shows 2 officers confronting the suspect, 31-year-old Essex Jackson, in a stockroom. At first, he appears to be following commands, but as officers close in, Jackson takes off into the store, and there's a struggle between the officers and the suspect. The officers eventually used tasers to try to get him to comply with directions, but he continues to fight and eventually grabs one of the tasers and begins using it on officers. That's when one of the officers opened fire, killing the suspect. A large knife was later found at the scene. Both officers were taken to the hospital and released. They have 5 and 7 years of experience on the police force. The Professional Standard Bureau is investigating that incident.
Southwest Gas agreeing to pay over $2 million and work to remove certain sections of piping following a Chandler gas leak explosion that happened 3 years ago.
That blast caused extensive damage to the businesses off of Ray and Rural Road. Badly injured 4 people. Fox 10's Lauren Clark joins us live now to share why this could impact thousands of other people in the valley.
Hey there, John and Christina. Yeah, we're talking about hundreds of miles of pipelines here, and we're also talking about a lot of people who could be impacted as a result. Now, this consent agreement was signed as a result of an investigation in between Arizona Corporation Commission's Office of Pipeline Safety and Southwest Gas. And if you recall, this explosion was just absolutely unbelievable, very sudden, causing extensive injuries to 4 people near those businesses. It happened on August 26th back in 2021. An investigation later revealed that the cause of this was a gas leak. Now, further investigation showed that there was a type of pipe that, according to the consent agreement, would oxidize and degrade under the Arizona heat. And this has been an issue in the past, and Southwest Gas is aware of these problems and done some things to try to control it. The problem is the pipe breaks down whenever it wants to break down, according to an attorney, and it doesn't break down on a schedule, and that seems to be the cause of what happened here. And this certainly is not an isolated issue either. Take a listen to one of the attorneys who represented those injured about what he had to say regarding the impact of this consent agreement. Take a listen.
Every residential neighborhood in Arizona and business area in Arizona has access to natural gas. And there's over 10,000 miles of this Driscoll pipe M8000 that's out there that's failing. And when it fails, it can be very catastrophic.
Yeah, an important point on that $2 million fine. Southwest Gas cannot go and try to increase rates in order to get that fine. We also received a statement from them that says in part that they worked closely to identify the root causes and those opportunities to enhance safety, and that this consent agreement is a result of those efforts and ensures the insight gained from this process would lead to positive change. We're going to have a lot more on this coming up right here at Fox 10 Live at 5. Reporting live in Phoenix, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Honoring Arizona's veterans will introduce you to the latest Hall of Fame inductees.
And it's a story you have to see to believe. A dog gets trapped on a ledge inside his home. How the family says he got there.